Hey guys, welcome to another GameXplain discussion. I'm your host, Andre Seegers, and we're again joined by Derek Binder to discuss all the latest news for Smash Bros. Wii U and 3DS from this past week. So let's get right into it. Alright Derek, well I would say this week is pretty big for Smash Bros. News. Aside from, not announcing a new character, this is probably one of the best weeks we've had. With maybe one main exception here. But they started off things with a bang on Monday by showcasing the stage hazard or a stage hazard for Gerudo Valley. And that is that Kotake and Koume will be a stage hazard in the level, and they're the bosses from the Spirit Temple in Ocarina of Time. So this is interesting for a couple of reasons. One, I did not expect them to be here at all.
No,
because they don't appear in this area in the game at all. I mean, they appear as part of the Spirit Temple, which is part of whatever the desert area is, which is linked to this bridge. But that's a kind of a strained connection there, I feel like.
just a bit. I mean, yeah, I think it caught a lot of people by surprise, just because you wouldn't have expected them. We already saw a stage hazard before with this stage, with the fact that the bridge would collapse at times.
Right.
So to have two different ones is pretty interesting. It kind of is. It's like the Bridge of Eldin in Brawl, where you not only had the pig guy, or the horseback or pigback riding guy going across the stage, but it would also break apart. So it really is almost a evolution, or just a new design for the Bridge of Eldin. But I would say that the twin Rova sisters are a much better stage hazard than the pig guy from Twilight Princess.
No, it's interesting that you say that, that you refer to them as two separate stage hazards, because I'm not entirely sure that's going to be the case. Because with the first stage hazard being the bridge that, in fact, I think it's going to be very much similar to Bridge of Eldin, as you mentioned. Because when we first saw the stage, in some of the screenshots, we noticed how the bridge had fallen out. And you could see there was some fire going on in the background and on the bridge itself. And we were like, okay, so what caused that fire to happen? And I think we have our answer right now. Considering one of them has an afro made out of fire.
Yeah, that's what they were known for. Is that one of the sisters would always fire projectiles, and the other one always fire ice projectiles. Mm-hmm. So it'd be interesting to see if sometimes they'll send out projectiles and set some of the players on fire, and other times they'll freeze them, sort of like the freeze effect that the ice climbers would have. Or even the freezy.
Yeah, I didn't even think about the other option there. You're entirely right. So I wonder what that could mean. Do you think they might freeze the bridge, turning into a slippery surface?
Ooh, that could be it too. It's hard to say whether they're going to attack the bridge itself or attack players. That's the big question for me. Because they could totally do the either or. If they attack the bridge and give the bridge ice physics, that's one option, or just destroy it outright with the fire. Or they could just attack the individual players, or they could do both. A lot of options.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there are a lot of options, and that's really one of the questions is, is a bridge just collateral damage in all this? Yeah, so it is interesting in just, how similar it is to the Bridge of Eldin stage. So I think this is pretty cool. I did not see them coming. I think it is a good addition, and it looks like it'll add some decent detail to the stage.
Yeah, I just like the fact that the 3DS is not... the thing I was worried about with the 3DS, and I know the 3DS itself is a pretty powerful machine, but I was worried it just wouldn't have the interactivity that the Wii U version have, and this is just further proof that that's not the case at all. It does have that interaction. It does have things that'll be happening, and I'm just sort of excited for it. It kind of reminds me in a weird way of the Star Fox stage, where the different fighters would come in and shoot you on occasion if you got in the way.
Yeah, that's true. But so I wonder if will they always appear as a pair this time? I'm guessing they will, because that's how you fought them in the game. But now that I think about it, do you think they'll ever merge forms too?
Oh, twin Rova, yeah.
Oh, that actually was her name. Okay.
Yeah, I kind of forgot that they're individual names until this post.
Right. Yeah, it's been throwing me off too.
I always just knew them as Twin Rova.
Right.
No, I think that's possible. I mean, it just might change up how they actually come in. Like maybe sometimes they'll come in as two separate sisters. Maybe sometimes they'll merge as Rova, and you know, I think that's what I like about these two as stage hazards. That's that you have a lot of possibilities for what they could actually do. Yep,
lots of potential there, and I'm excited to see what they're going to do for more 3DS arenas, because we haven't really seen too many of the stage hazards for these stages, even across both systems, really. Alright, moving on to Tuesday's screenshot. Actually, speaking of hazards, it confirms the return of one of my personal favorite items, if not my favorite item in the entire series, being the bumper. The bumper is back, which is awesome because even though it's been in most of the games, it wasn't in Melee. Instead, it was replaced with a flipper, which was that spinning thing from Balloon Fight, I think.
Maybe. I didn't really look into where it was from, but yeah, it's funny you say spinning thing because that's what was my official name for it. Like when I said this means there will be no flippers, when Sakurai said that,
right. I'm
like, what the hell is a flipper? And then I looked it up and I saw that and I was like, oh, the spinning thing, that's right.
So I'm guessing you don't have any. You probably don't feel strongly on this item as I do. For whatever reason, when I was first playing the original Smash Brothers game, whenever the bumper would appear, like the entire fight would stop and everyone would just go for the bumper. Like not because it was a great item, but because out of principle, because of how hilarious the item was. Because you would throw that thing and it would just basically ping pong anyone around who touched it. And it was, I just love that weapon. It was such a fun thing to use. Maybe that's why I didn't like Melee. The mere fact that the bumper wasn't in it. So when it came back for Brawl, I was super stoked. And I'm glad to see that it's returning once again in the new Smash Brothers.
No, I kind of agree with you. The bumper was always it's like not the most effective item, but there's something satisfying about hearing the little clanging noise whenever you hit somebody with it. And, you know, probably will act just the same as here. Just yet another redesign for a Smash specific item.
Right.
Gotta get that branding in there.
Just in case you forget what game you're playing.
Yeah. But no, I love the little detail, and even Sakurai says there's so much detail in this thing that the designers went overboard with it, because you can see the screws on the top side, and then you look over and you can see where they got screwed in. It's pretty impressively detailed.
It is. I mean, they are. I think even they appreciate how essential the bumper is, and they are lavishing the attention that it deserves.
Right.
All right. Moving on to Wednesday's screenshot. Hump Day's screenshot. This is probably the weakest screenshot of the week. It simply shows King Dedede charging up his down special on top of one of the planes of the Palawings arena while Pikachu does like a little dance move behind him. So there's not anything noteworthy here, except for the fact that Sakurai just confirms that he can damage himself still if he overcharges this attack. Because in the original game, the way this move worked is you press down B, you hold up your hammer, and you're actually charging it up. But the longer you hold it, the more damage it starts doing to you. And it seems like that's still going to be the case here.
Yeah, I got nothing. It's like, okay, great to know. Yep. Moving on.
That's totally the case. Speaking of attacks, actually, Thursday's screenshot is a little bit more interesting attack-wise, because it shows off something that we didn't know about Lil Mac before. And this is the fact that his side smash can now transition into one of 3 different moves, I believe. You have your straight-up side smash. Then if you tilt the control stick upward, he does an uppercut. Or if you tilt it downward, he does a body hook. And this is basically a new mechanic. And I say basically because we have seen things like this before, to some extent with some of the previous smashes with some of the characters in previous games, where if you tilted it, it would change the angle, as I recall, of their attack, but never anything to this degree. We are basically getting, it seems, 3 separate moves in one.
Yeah, it's quite impressive, and I mean, it's really going to show just how technical of a fighter Little Mac really is. I don't even know how to put it. I mean, this is going to be a fighter that's probably going to be a little on the trickier side. This is not going to be one that you can just easily pick up and play and master, and fully understand. This is a character that people are probably going to need to practice with. But those who do practice with him and can master getting his ground game down, which is of course his his advantage, I can see Mac being just a devastating force.
Yeah, I mean, that really seems to be the case from everything we've seen. And even of these 3 moves, Sakurai even mentions how the body hook is the most devastating of these moves. And the fact that he, says it's devastating by itself really does just, further support how strong of a fighter this guy's going to be, at least, when fighting on the ground.
Mm-hmm. And I think the reason the body hook is probably the most devastating is that it doesn't blast opponents away. It keeps them close,
right,
meaning you can even combo even further with it. So a smash attack setting up a combo, which is very interesting. And activating, he even says there's a bit of a trick to activating these. You need to avoid tilting the controls diagonally from the get-go. Instead, tilt up or down right after the smash attack starts kicking in. Mm-hmm. You can also tilt up or down while you're powering up. So, doing a quick activation seems like it'll be a little tricky, but if you're holding it for a while, you could probably pull off the tilts a little bit easier. But it's really cool, the kind of technicality that they're getting in here with Little Mac.
Yeah, again, it gets back to what I've said before about the new fighters, where it really seems like they're just putting all this attention into them. Like, it almost kind of makes the returning ones feel a little bit lame, or seem a little bit lame by comparison, just because they're doing all these cool new things with these new fighters. And, from what we've seen of the returning ones, they're by and large, the exact same as they've been before.
It seems to be the case, but with a lot of these new fighters, it's hard to say with all of them, but they seem to be a bit more technical. You're not going to be able to pick up and play them a little bit more. So that's why I think that's why they're sort of taking these guys as opportunities to sort of expand their the characters are played and change how they're so you don't have the same basic setup of the characters. They're expanding it, giving these new play styles available for people to try out. So it's kind of it definitely seems like they're more powerful, but I think there's a bit of a bridge before you can actually fully utilize these characters.
That's an interesting way of looking at it. That does make sense. You already do have the set roster that most people are familiar with. That is still, decent for the most part for newcomers to get used to. So it would make sense to make these, newer characters maybe a bit more technical, a bit more for, people who are more experienced with the series. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, moving on to the final screenshot, or should I say screenshots from Friday, because we actually get 2 new pictures of a brand new stage for the 3DS version. This one's Tortimer Island, based on the island that appeared in Animal Crossing New Leaf. And this also is interesting for a few reasons. One, the fact that New Leaf is a pretty recent game, at least in the US. I guess it's been out in Japan for a while. But as I mentioned before, Smash Bros. Typically has a delay. Where the most recent installment of each franchise, it usually doesn't get something like an arena or a character featured in that game. But here we are again, something from a recent game, having a prominent place here. And it's pretty cool to see, them reference something that recent. And on top of that, they're really going all out to this stage, because Sakurai mentions how whenever you visit the island or whenever you come back to this stage, you'll have a whole different layout, which takes which kind of takes a page from the whole Animal Crossing thing, where each town is unique. However, the weird thing is now, unless I'm misremembering, I'm pretty sure that island in New Leaf is set. Like, I'm pretty sure the island's basically the same for everyone. Whereas the town itself is different. So it's interesting to see them take an element of the town itself and apply it to the island, when it wasn't that case in the game. As far as I remember, I could be mistaken.
I think it was all the same for everybody. I'm not sure. It could be different. It's who knows. With Animal Crossing, they have so much variation there to find. But as a new stage, actually, he says here's a new stage for the 3DS version. If I'm remembering correctly, this might actually be the second time we've seen this stage. This is actually the second time, because you remember, I don't even know how many weeks ago, there was a picture of the character riding on Cap'n's boat,
right,
on the dock, and it just here's Cap. All he did was talk about Cap'n. Didn't mention the stage at all. It's just here's Cap'n and doing a sea shanty. So maybe Cap'n will be like circling the outside, and you can get on his boat and fight there.
That's a really good point. I completely forgot about that. Yeah, it would make sense for that to be part of this stage. Yeah, I guess as a background detail, or part of the arena, like as you mentioned, pulling up as a boat, similar to the Wind Waker arena. Basically creating an additional platform for you to fight on. That would be really cool. That's a really interesting thought. So now looking at this screenshot, I'm curious to see how this arena is going to actually play, because if it's changing, like, if it's changing every time, that's going to make this a pretty unusual arena, in that it's never set in stone. Now, granted, it doesn't look like there'll be that much variation. I mean, in this specific shot, we can see there's a slight elevation change with the hill on the left, then you have like a little pond on the right. So it looks like there'll be some, some small, nothing super huge, that's going to be different time to time, but
probably mixing up what elements are where.
Yeah, maybe like the dock could appear on the right side, for instance, as opposed to the left side as it is here.
Yeah, exactly. Or have the pond in the middle and the elevation changes going around both. I mean, there's a lot of little variations here. We'll never. I mean, you probably won't see the same layout twice that often, but I think it's. Won't be so different that you won't be able to adapt to it. I mean, the elements will be all there, it's just mixed up how they'll actually be arranged.
Yeah, and we can actually see a little bit of that in these screenshots, where in the top one, or in the first one, we can see Tortimer himself, because it's his island. But in the second one, we can see he doesn't appear to be there anymore, and instead, a female Kappa is there, who I believe she ran one of the booths or kiosks inside the store. So it looks like, like the Animal Crossing stage itself in Brawl, that the characters will change as well. Now I'm also wondering if, like the Animal Crossing stage and like Animal Crossing, if the time of day might change here too, depending on what time you're playing it at.
Ooh, that's entirely possible. It's considering it's an Animal Crossing stage, I wouldn't put it beyond them. That's something that will probably happen. Because,
I feel like it has to.
Yeah, I think so too. I think they have so much fun playing with time of day and even just layout now from Animal Crossing. I think they really take inspiration from this series. Yeah,
absolutely. And I'm wondering if that extends even to these details here to some extent. Or, I mean, obviously all the details are from Animal Crossing, but I'm wondering if that's going to influence the gameplay. Because do you see all the shells flying around on the beach? One on the left, right in front of between the dock and the hill there, it appears to be like in the actual plane that you're fighting on. So I'm wondering if you might be able to pick up those shells and use them as weapons.
I was thinking something along the same lines, because if you look in the tree, there's fruit. I wonder if you can use the fruit as either like something you can toss it at another enemy or another player and use it to damage them, or even recover, like sort of like the Kirby's
health,
level, health. Kirby's level in that had like peaches and stuff, or the apples from Wispy Woods. So it may play something sort of like that, where you have just random items that you can use in the fight itself.
Yeah, I can see different elements come into play depending on the arrangement of the level. And they can even go even further if they want to, because you could also, fishing was a big thing here, and you could even catch sharks. So I'm wondering if they might factor in some way too. Whether
kind of awesome.
Yeah, right. Whether they're just swimming around, or if they'll actually interact with you. Maybe you can pick up a shark and throw them too.
That'd be awesome.
So yeah, I guess I'm wondering if you can even enter the water here. I mean, obviously the pool you can, but the ocean I'm wondering about. I'm
pretty sure you can, because you could swim in the Wind Waker stage in Brawl.
Right.
And you wouldn't die immediately. So I'm sure you'll be able to swim. So you're going to definitely have to knock them off to the sides or up. You're not going to actually fall off the stage in this case, unless you get like again sharks that bite you and immediately take you under, like the Donkey Kong stage in Melee.
Oh God.
The thing I'm curious about is how deep that pool is in the center of the stage.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I want to know if you'll actually have to swim through it, or whether you'll just see it splash around your feet.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at it. I mean, I think to me it looks like it's pretty shallow. I mean, it's hard to tell if it's a water texture or if you can actually see the beach through it. But it's looking to me that it's just a shallow pool, and if that's the case, I'm guessing it's really more visual than anything.
That's probably pretty likely. I mean, it'd be if that was deeper, that's not a lot of real estate to fight on.
That is a good point. So, do you have any final thoughts at all on this arena, or any other details you noticed that we haven't pointed out yet?
Not off the top of my head. I think it's cool that we had that hint so long ago with Kapp'n, and seeing how the stage actually looks now and how it'll giving it a better idea of how it'll play. I love the idea that it changes every time you pick the level, so it keeps things fresh. Just a really interesting stage design. That keeps it different from the one found on the Wii U, despite being the same series.
Yeah, I think the thing to take away from this week, actually, is these 3DS arenas, I think they're going to be more detailed than we may have initially thought. It really does seem like, I mean, granted, we are inferring a lot from these screenshots, but just going off the detail that Sakurai describes this level in, and, checking out the stage hazard of the Ocarina of Time course, or stage, rather, it really does seem like, they are putting at least as much intention into these as they are in the Wii U stages, and I think that's, pretty promising. Alright, well that wraps up our Smash Brothers discussion this week. Thanks for watching, guys. If you liked our discussion, please make sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter at GameXplain. You can find links to them in the description below. We post all kinds of things there, and it's a good way to keep up to date with everything we, cover on the site. And speaking of the site, you can also check that out at GameXplain.com to see everything else we do. And, yeah, that does it for this week, so thanks for watching. Bye.